Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most perplexing historical mysteries of the 20th century, the disappearance of Raoul Wallenberg. Wallenberg was a Swedish diplomat credited with saving thousands of Jews from Nazi-occupied Hungary during World War II. But what makes his story even more intriguing is that, after the war, he vanished without a trace, sparking decades of speculation and unanswered questions. So, grab a drink, sit back, and let's unravel this enduring enigma. To understand the gravity of Wallenberg's disappearance, we first need to appreciate the magnitude of what he accomplished during the war. Raoul Wallenberg was born into a prominent Swedish family in 1912, and although his early life showed no signs of the heroism that would come, destiny had a different plan for him. In 1944, as the Holocaust reached its devastating peak, Wallenberg was sent to Hungary on a mission by the Swedish government and the American War Refugee Board. His objective? To rescue as many Hungarian Jews as possible from Adolf Eichmann's final solution. Wallenberg arrived in Budapest just as the Nazis were rounding up tens of thousands of Jews for deportation to Auschwitz. He devised a brilliant plan to issue protective passports, known as Schutz-Passes, which identified the bearer as a Swedish citizen, thereby offering them immunity from Nazi persecution. Through this system, Wallenberg was able to shelter over 30,000 Jews, housing many in Swedish safe houses scattered throughout the city. His bravery became legendary as he confronted Nazi officials directly, even once standing up to Eichmann himself. By the end of the war, Wallenberg had saved an estimated 100,000 Jews, an act that would earn him a permanent place in history. But just as Wallenberg's incredible story seemed poised for celebration, it took a sudden and dark turn. In January 1945, with Soviet forces closing in on Budapest, Wallenberg traveled to meet with the advancing Red Army. He hoped to negotiate further humanitarian efforts, but after this meeting, he was never seen or heard from again. Officially, the Soviet Union announced that Wallenberg had been taken into protective custody, a term that suggested he was being held for his own safety. However, as time passed, Wallenberg remained absent, and the Soviet Union became increasingly secretive about his whereabouts. For years, the world speculated about what might have happened. In the late 1940s, Soviet officials claimed that Wallenberg had died of heart failure in a Moscow prison in 1947. But this explanation was widely regarded as suspicious. First, the timing of his supposed death, just 2 years after his disappearance, raised questions. Second, no death certificate or body was ever produced, leading many to doubt the Soviet narrative. Over time, survivors of the Soviet Gulag system reported seeing or hearing about a foreign diplomat who fit Wallenberg's description alive in Soviet labor camps long after his declared death. These reports fueled hope, but also deepened the mystery surrounding his fate. Why would the Soviet Union imprison or even execute a man like Wallenberg, who had done so much good in the world? This question lies at the heart of the mystery. One theory is that the Soviets viewed Wallenberg, a diplomat with American ties, as a potential spy. During the height of the Cold War, tensions between the Soviet Union and the West were already high, and the Soviets were notoriously suspicious of any figure connected to Western powers. Wallenberg's connection to both the United States and Sweden, combined with his activities in Hungary, may have raised Soviet suspicions about his true motives. Another theory suggests that Wallenberg's knowledge of Soviet wartime actions in Hungary, actions that included mass deportations and executions, made him a liability. Perhaps the Soviets feared he might reveal damaging information about their own atrocities. There's also speculation that Wallenberg's extensive contacts in Hungary, some of whom were anti-communists, might have made him a political threat to the emerging Soviet influence in Eastern Europe. All these theories point to Wallenberg being more than just an unfortunate casualty of war. He may have been caught in the complex web of Cold War geopolitics. Over the decades, Wallenberg's family and human rights organizations have tirelessly searched for answers. In the 1950s and 60s, Sweden and international bodies repeatedly pressed the Soviet Union for information, but the responses were vague and often conflicting. The Swedish government faced criticism for not doing enough to secure his release or uncover the truth. Despite these efforts, no concrete evidence of Wallenberg's fate ever surfaced. In the 1980s and 90s, the collapse of the Soviet Union provided a brief window of hope. Soviet archives were opened, and researchers combed through documents for clues. While some new information emerged, including prisoner records suggesting Wallenberg had indeed been imprisoned in the infamous Lubyanka prison in Moscow, there was still no definitive proof of what happened to him. Russian authorities eventually admitted that Wallenberg had been wrongfully imprisoned, but maintained their stance that he died in 1947. However, without any verifiable evidence, the mystery persisted. Today, Raoul Wallenberg's disappearance remains one of the most enduring mysteries of World War II. His legacy as a hero, however, is undisputed. In countries around the world, streets, schools, and monuments bear his name, and his courage continues to inspire human rights defenders. The unanswered question of his fate serves as a stark reminder of the darker side of 20th century history, where even a man of such extraordinary bravery could vanish into the shadows of geopolitical intrigue. And that's all for today's deep dive into the mystery of Raoul Wallenberg. His story is not just one of heroism, but also a haunting reminder of the complexities of post-war politics. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming mysteries. If you have thoughts or theories about what happened to Raoul Wallenberg, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the past.